So I'm absolutely certain these were taken at the Labour conference in Brighton, but I haven't checked. But if not, it really doesn't matter. This is John, I'm a Marxist McDonald's solution to the problems that he perceives with the British economy.
By the middle of this century, it's possible that up to half of the jobs we now do could be automated away.
Yeah. And by that time, because it will be done slowly, little by little, we will have developed new jobs for people to do. I'm doing one of them. Producing content on social media will be a job. I know, right? That will be a completely weird thing. What you do? I'm going to be a social media content producer. Why? Because people, I'm charismatic or whatever the reason is. I think I've got something to offer. I'm going to see how it goes. And in a free market, that person will rise or fall on their own merits. And that's a good thing. It will literally will. The market will continue to evolve as technology changes, as it always has and always will do. Your intervention is actually not necessary there, McDonald.
The jobs that remain can, if we let them, be exploitative, dangerous, degrading and dead-end.
Do you think that anyone in a socialist country is going, well, I'm glad I'm not being exploited? God! The reality just doesn't match up to anything these people say. I swear it's because they're in an echo chamber.
Or the jobs we create can provide good, secure employment in work that's fulfilling and meaningful.
Okay, you've got to clean the sewers. Make that a fulfilling, meaningful job. It's all hot air. You've got nothing. I mean, and the jobs you create, you mean the state jobs. And, I'm no fucking anarcho-capitalist. I believe that there is a need for a state, and I think we should get the state to do things. But employing most people is not what I think we should make the state do, John.
In communities where pride and
And you might think, well, that's a bit of a leap from what he's just said there, but trust me, I've watched a lot of his interviews. He is a full-on socialist.
Prosperity has been restored.
When has prosperity ever been, quote-unquote, restored under socialism? Just when? Just name the time when people have been prosperous, rather than just getting by.
We've already a foretaste of what this revolution would look like if it was left to the Tories.
The Tories don't want a revolution, you lunatic. The Tories are actually happy with the status quo. Don't get me wrong, I'm not for the status quo. That's the thing, right? When I did that stream with Dave Cullen ages ago, I was trying to think of ways of solving the perceived problem of income inequality, which is what Labour Party is banking on completely. People's perceptions of inequality, regardless of the actual quality of their lives. So there must be ways of changing that. And I think that we can do it. Like, what I was proposing was effectively an addendum, or a different way of doing minimum wage. But it wasn't about taking away someone's private property. It wasn't about violating their rights. It was a change to the structure of society. It was a change to the rules of society that would be universal. This is not outside of my own set of principles, and not anti-capitalist either. In fact, I think it would create a better sort of crowdfunding model of society, which is what I think we really should start looking towards anyway. And I think the internet's naturally going to do that. It's just we should be trying to encourage it. But either way, right, that was just me shitposting, so I was spitballing on a stream. I haven't written a fucking manifesto or anything. I haven't revolutionised economics. It was just an idea, But John McDonnell is apparently an economist. He does have economists advising him. And he's still a socialist.
It's being used to vastly enrich a tiny elite, whilst...
What do you think's happening in Venezuela? What do you think happened in Cuba? What do you think happened in the Soviet Union? What do you think happened in Zimbabwe? Where on earth has socialism not done that? You fucking zealot. And the worst part is, I really do agree with George Orwell on this. No, it was George Orwell? No, I can't remember. Bertrand Russell, sorry. When he said, look, socialists think that they're good people. And I know they think they do, that they think they are, but and I'm sure John McDonnell is one of these people who thinks he's a well-meaning person. He's just an idiot.
Creating life for many workers of, long hours, low...
Creating life for the people, what, you shoot because they're now the enemy of the people? Obviously, you're never going to do that. You're far too pure to do that, John. Jesus.
Pay and insecure unemployment. So there's a choice to be made. We can remain a low-wage economy, specialising in zero-hour contracts.
We do not specialise in zero-hour contracts. And again, I'm actually against zero-hour contracts. I used to have to work on zero-hour contracts. It's difficult because you're at the bottom. It's tough. But we don't specialise in zero-hour contracts.
Or we can use the state to help shape Britain's future in this new world.
Does that sound ominous to anyone else? Does that... I mean, he's at least laying out his intentions. He's going to use the state to radically control and centralise the economy. Okay, John. All right. We know how that goes. There isn't a state on earth that hasn't centralised its economy through the government that hasn't suffered for it, because it's an inherently oppressive state of affairs, because the bureaucracy will never actually be able to catch up with the millions of people trying to interact with it. It's just sluggish. It makes things slower by the nature of putting a bureaucracy between two people who want to do business. You don't have to do it. It's actually way more productive if we don't do it. It's just... look at these idiots just sat around. Yeah, I don't know anything about socialism. I don't know anything about how it works. And the only reason I knew is because I spent the time actually reading the books. You know, like I've actually sat there reading books on economics, which is so goddamn boring. I have no interest in reading these books, and now I've read them, and now I know this is a bad idea.
We know it can be done. You know, as the Tories waste time and energy alienating our closest trading partners, other countries are using state direction of innovation and investment to carve out vital areas of expertise in robotics, in electronic cars, in clean tech, in the smart city.
You mean the things all being done by private entrepreneurs, like Elon Musk? like what? Like Richard Branson, like Bill Gates, like all of the fabulously wealthy billionaires who are developing these technologies as we speak. The state isn't fucking doing that, John. Oh, God, it's just delusional fantasy world.
But though the technologies are new...
And I love the way he doesn't mention any names. I can just name these names for you. You know, look at Mark Zuckerberg, look at all of these people, look at any of these entrepreneurs who are doing a good job, and like putting, like private spacefaring. You know, and, oh, God. All right.
The British problem is old. The city is not channeling investment into high-value, high-productivity businesses. Instead, it's channeling investment into property speculation, often owned by overseas speculators.
I actually looked this up. I should have got this source, but I hadn't watched this video in advance. Not often, actually, John. These houses account for approximately 1% of Kensington, I think it was, the area that the Grenfell fire happened in. Kensington's housing that are free, 1% of them. 99% of the houses owned in that location were occupied. It's a tiny problem that isn't really a problem. And it's not illegal for them to buy property. It's fine. People own property. That's a good thing, John. I know you don't think so 'cause you're a fucking commie, but...
It's the rentier economy, where wealth is secured not by what you produce, but the amount of rent you can charge.
Okay. How about a socialist economy where wealth just isn't produced? How's that? Solve anything? No? Oh, I thought so. Carry on.
So we'll change that. We'll put taxpayers' money into key research projects. We'll foster the creation of networks and clusters of expertise. We say to the technology sector and the universities, help is on the way. So to reconnect...
Have you seen Venezuela's hospitals, John? They're not, like, pretty. I wouldn't want to be treated in one. Holy shit. Cuba's hospitals. Although I have to say, Venezuela's are probably no better. I mean, they are having a shortage of medication at the moment. I wonder how the antiseptic supplies are. But the thing is, it's just like, there is no way of getting these people to listen. They're just set on this path, regardless of what anyone says or does.
To reconnect to reconnect the financial sector to the economy of research and development and production.
Right, okay, let's just watch Jeremy's little bit here.
Of the future go beyond the needs to turn our backs on an economic model that has failed to invest and upgrade our economy. We need urgently to face the challenge of automation, robotics that could make so much of contemporary work redundant.
And it will, Jeremy, which is why McDonald's are laying people off. Also incentivised by your minimum wage hikes, just so you know. But yeah, it will. It will absolutely be done by people. People don't need you to tell them what to do, because you're not an expert in anything. You're not even an expert in being a dull grey backbench politician. You're an expert in terrorist sympathy, maybe? You're an expert in being anti-Zionist, maybe? I mean, I'm not an expert in anything either. That's the thing. I'm not an expert in any of these things, and I still seem to be able to point out the flaws in your one-sided thinking that you never address.
That is a threat in the hands of the greedy, but it's a huge opportunity if managed in the interests of society as a whole.
And that's not greedy. You want control over everyone's economic activity. I mean, I can't think of a more comprehensive version of economic totalitarianism, and you want to be the guy at the top of that who will profit the most from it, and you don't think that's greedy. That's pretty incredible, I have to say. You blow my mind, Jeremy.
Tom Watson spoke
Look at all these fucking sheep. I just can't get over this.
extensively about this yesterday, and he and others in the Shadow Cabinet are working hard on this. Thank you, Tom, and thank you, the Shadow Cabinet, for that. We won't
there he is in the
reap
audience.
the full rewards of these great technological advances if they're monopolised to pile up profits for a few.
They're not monopolised. Is it the Jews are monopolising the tech industry? Is it? Because, I mean, you're really on the same page as the alt-right at this point. Who is monopolised? You know, like Arch Warhammer owns a company that sells robots, manufacturing robots. He's just a dude who runs a YouTube channel and also happens to own a company. Because he invested, he built it. But he deserves to have that socialised, I guess. Sorry for your hard work, Arch. Boom! Thanks for giving all this to the state. That's fucking abhorrent, Jeremy.
But if they're publicly managed to share the benefits, they can be the gateway for a new settlement between work and leisure.
The thing is, right, what is actually stopping the government from purchasing a drone farm or whatever, or a robot farm to manufacture things? What's actually stopping the government from just setting that up? Like they set up Royal Mail? Nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. And yet, for some reason, you want the state to have control over everyone's economic activity. This is the thing about being a social liberal, right? I don't mind. If the government was like, right, what we're going to do is we're going to raise like £10 billion or whatever from taxpayer money to build a drone farm that's going to produce... drone farm, I keep calling it drones. Robot farm that's going to produce some kind of good. You know, whatever it is. I'm sure there'd be a good reason. Something productive that literally everyone needs. I don't know. Toilet paper or something. You know, we're going to provide cheap toilet paper to supermarkets. We'll outcompete toilet paper manufacturers. Okay. I don't care if toilet paper manufacturers go out of business. I don't give a fuck. That's the market for you. You know? It's double-edged sword, isn't it? No, I don't give a fuck if they go out of business. You'll have to find a new line of work. I don't mind if they want to do that. But the idea that they're like, no, we want to monopolise it ourselves because we perceive the free market to have a monopoly on drones, robots, no. God, it's so weird how you can't help but be a tyrant, Jeremy. You just see the world in either I'm in charge or I'm not in charge. And that's not satisfactory.
A springboard for expanded creativity and culture. The tide of automation and technological change means retraining and management of the workforce, and it must be centre stage in the coming years.
Not relevant to what he's just said, but that whole, like, you know, Centre for Culture and all that. I was thinking about this the other day. Why is it that Western capitalist culture dominates the world? American culture, really, dominates the world. Why didn't the Soviet culture dominate the world? It's because literally everyone's being oppressed. When people are free, they're free to do what they want. But when you can't speak about certain subjects, when you actually have limits on what you can produce, when the state is controlling your economic activity, you're pretty limited. And you don't produce culture in nearly the same quantity or quality as was produced in the West. You probably have less Harvey Weinsteins, to be fair, but this is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. No, seriously though, it's obvious that free people produce better things. Athens was the same in comparison to Sparta. Sparta was basically a fascist dictatorship. Very socialist. Spartans had their economic activities controlled. Sparta was an absolute wasteland when it came to culture. There's nothing cultural that came out of Sparta, other than laconic phrases. and yet Athens produces all amount of culture because Athens was a free city. And the people in it, at least the straight white men, were free. It's just self-evident that what you're saying is going to end up being the opposite of what actually happens, Jeremy. It's just basic bitch, like political science.
So Labour will build an education and training system from the cradle to the grave.
Holy fucking shit. Do you want the Labour Party controlling you from the cradle to the grave, from your entire economic activity, your entire educational activity, everything you do in your life, to your cultural preferences probably? This is going to be controlled by the Labour Party. I mean, look at the scope of what they are planning. These lunatics are literally thinking they're going to remake society in their own socialist image. That is absolutely terrifying to me. These people have to be stopped.
That empowers people, not one that shackles them with debt.
Not one that shackles them with, debt. Oh, debt is the shackle. Oh, right, okay, well that's the problem shackle. What's the right shackle? Ownership of property, that's the right shackle. Take that away. Jeremy, you are promising golden shackles to everyone. I don't trust you. I would rather my difficult freedom than your golden chains. These sheep, just...
That's why we will establish a national education service.
We have nationalised schools, Jeremy. What on earth? I mean, God, I should find the rest of this, shouldn't I?
In the last 20 years will
I don't know who
pale
this is.
into
Rebecca.
comparison to the next 20. Over the last few centuries, we've gradually learnt how to transfer more and more human skills to machines. With current technological breakthroughs, we're for the first time developing machines that do cognitive and non-routine work, machines that think. But with some estimates suggesting that half...
Is she warning us about Terminator 2 Judgment Day?
of all our jobs could be lost to automation.
Yes, but new jobs will be made. I'm not watching you. You're dull as dishwater. At least it's not a picture of you with communist flags all around you, Jez.